Why should you keep going? Why should you keep living in this body, continuing on this journey in this life? Now, we all have those hit a tree at 70 miles per hour experiences. It's kind of inevitable. And honestly, from this broader perspective of you, you are not looking at that from that perspective as this horror that it can seem like when you are in this perspective of you. But honestly, it's those experiences that give us the greatest opportunity to have expansion, to actually have more joy, because this is all very paradoxical if you haven't yet figured that out. But because of the pain that we experience, we often wonder if life is even really worth it. It's like our survival instincts almost get, the wires get crossed in a way where we're more geared towards death and not living than life, and fully living it to its extent for us that is capable. So, what do we do? What do we do in these experiences where we're feeling so much pain? And we feel like we don't want to be here, but we also want to be here. You know, my message today is keep going. Keep going wherever you are, wherever you stand, whatever your circumstances look like. I mean, however bad they look for you, or good. I'm not saying you are having a bad experience, but I assume if you're watching this, you're going through something where it's making you question things, question your life, if it is even worth it, if you should keep going. But this is the problem. Because of the pain that we experience, usually starting very early on, we unconsciously and subconsciously get our wires crossed in this way where we start to resist pain. We try to avoid pain in any way that we possibly can because pain is painful and we want to feel good. But it is doing that is actually keeping you from living your life. It is resisting what you are not wanting that is actually keeping you from getting what you're wanting and actually living your life to the fullest extent. Now, I'm not saying you should keep going and live a life of confinement. A life where it's just comfortable enough and uncomfortable enough to stay right where you are. But to choose to keep going in a more real and authentic way that best matches what would be authentic to you and real to you. Because here's the thing. Yeah, you're gonna die anyways. Now, does that mean you should go smoke heroin out in the middle of the street tonight? Probably not. But it does mean that you should reevaluate your life right now. And you should see and try to see where you are not giving it your all. Try to see where you are not giving yourself what you deserve. Because there are aspects to you that want a lot more than what you are living. And the only reason you're not living them is because you're afraid and you want to stay safe and you don't want to get hurt. Even though pain is kind of inevitable anyways. So right now is the time to choose to keep going, but in a more real way. You need to decide now that you're going to make changes, and you can't care what the people around you are going to think or are going to say, because they have their own conditionings going on. They're in their own little bubble of how this world works, because that's how they run their life, their whole life. You've got to stick with what you know and what you've learned. You're not in competition with anybody. And here's the thing. Most people do choose to stay in this body, in this life, but they're not actually here. I mean, they're here, but they're not here. Again, they're living just comfortably enough and uncomfortably enough to stay where they are. They're never taking any risks. They're never going for anything. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person where I'm willing to take certain risks. And even if that means I might have a giant loss, which, I mean, what is a giant loss? It depends on what you think that is. But I'm willing to take really big risks in order to get what I'm wanting. Good risks, nothing that harms another person or sentient being. Risks that will propel me in my life forward in the places that I want to go. And a lot of people are not willing to do that. I often wondered why I went through what I went through and why I put myself through what I went through. And now I know, because I'm not afraid to take risks. And I look around and most of the people that I see are. They're living their life like a zombie. They're not even awake. And to be completely honest with you, there's really no reason to be here unless you're willing to fully embrace this life. You didn't come here to be a walking sheep or a walking zombie, listening to what somebody else needs you to do. And even if you do decide to live a life where you're listening to what somebody else is telling you to do, at least choose that consciously. But choosing to stay here means taking this moment, or however many moments you need, to choose to really be here, really be in the physical. It doesn't matter how high you get in your spiritual, how high you get your vibration and your spiritual practices and your vibration and all of that. You're still here. And honestly, the more you ascend, I don't really like using that word, but that conveys what I'm trying to say. The more you ascend and raise your awareness and your consciousness, the more you actually can enjoy physical life and be here. Something as mundane as washing the dishes can actually seem so much more, magical. It's a little bit a little bit of an exaggeration, but honestly, you can see more of the beauty in life. A lot of people, they go down the spiritual path and they don't realize that they're still supposed to be here in this body. They're using spirituality as an escape from their life. And honestly, it's the people that go through, usually it is this way, not all the time, but usually, that go through the hardest experiences, the most difficult, challenging experiences, that actually decide to really live. Because they realize, well, what's the point? You get to a point where you hit so much pain that you say, well, okay, well, if I'm already here in this much pain and I've been running from pain my whole life because I got hurt before, and now I'm just replaying that the rest of my life, why not turn in the opposite direction and go directly towards the risk, or directly towards what's looking like a risk? It might not even be a risk. Going for what I'm wanting, trying something completely different, or something that I've been thinking about doing, but I just haven't had the nerve to work it up in me to do that because I'm afraid. Usually what people will think, people not loving me for who I am, right? Because you realize, oh my God, I basically reached my pain threshold. Which means, okay, we'll turn in the opposite direction. Run towards what you're wanting. What could you lose? You already hit that point. So my point in saying that is, if you have had really bad experiences, it's not because the universe hates you. Honestly, it is a gift that you gave to yourself and that the universe gave to you so that you would choose into life more. It's very paradoxical, I know. So when I say stay here, keep going, I don't mean stay in your miserableness and sit in it and just exist, because that is kind of pointless. There's not a lot of expansion that goes on in there. And the universe honestly does not like it when we're not expanding. It's actually quite interesting because you see people and you think, they don't look like they're expanding, and they're still here, and they're here for a very long time. And there's actually a lot of expansion that is happening for people that you may not see all the time, even though they remain stagnant. But the universe usually takes out people that are not expanding. But I promise you, if you are here right now and you are questioning your life, if you should even be here, if this is even worth it, well, this is your confirmation that it is. You just need to decide to reevaluate your life and make choices in the direction of your joy. Not escapism, not scrolling on your phone because it feels good. No, it doesn't feel good. Well, it does. It's a dopamine hit. You're comfortable with this. It's not actually what you are joyful about, blissful about. It's time right now to decide that you are going to go in the direction of what you're wanting. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. There is no pace to do this at. You just need to decide that you're gonna be willing to be you and to close that gap between who you are and who you appear to be for you. And the people that stick around, great. People that don't, okay. It just means you're in more alignment, and you'll also attract a new tribe. We often are most afraid of things because we're afraid of not being loved. Our personalities are an amalgamation of basically coping mechanisms to be loved based on the traumas that we faced in our past. And we spend a life of pain trying to cushion our walls and make sure that we stay safe, even though we're mortals in these bodies. We're gonna die. And so the beauty of that is to choose to stay here and to live this life in a soft and elegant way, and an appreciation for this life, yet an understanding that you are eternal and that any risk that you take isn't always a risk. It is a necessary step in your expansion. And here's the other part. If you do feel like leaving, like you don't know what to do, and you're still living in that middle area, and you don't know, well, again, you're just going to be living a life of not that much expansion. You're not going to see much change. You're not going to be all that happy. And if you do choose to leave because you just say, you know what, there is too much pain, I don't know how to deal with this. The reason to stay in this life is because all you're going to do, if you left, is de-manifest, essentially, from this body. And the 3D, it appears as decomposition. You are de-manifesting when you leave this body. Your soul leaves this body. More like a soul stream. It's more like a stream. And you will emerge back into that more broad perspective, and you will come back into life. So you're never like gone. You're always going to be alive and well, no matter what perspective you are in right now. Even if you feel like you're in hell. If you decided to leave, who knows? Maybe the next life would be complete hell. It would be worse than the one you're living right now. You don't know. So if you knew that there was only life, and that you can't really get it wrong, then why not stay here and just make the best of it? And choose into what you're wanting more, and less for what you think other people want. You gotta kind of be a ballsy person, especially if you are around people a lot that were very conditioned, and this is how you do it, and you do this and you do that and this and that, and that's how you live, and that's how you have a happy life, even though they actually have no idea. You got to choose yourself and be brave and be courageous Because that's where your joy is really going to come from. It's not going to come from approval from others. I mean, here you are, this full person, just big personality and this big energy that is you. And then you have people around you that are approving you because you're doing the right thing and you think you're doing the right thing. Does that actually feel good? Maybe it gives you like a moment of like, But does that actually make you feel good? Does it actually validate you? No, because it's not even you. So, my message today is to choose life. Choose this life. And keep going in this life, in this journey, in this body, consciously. Just do the best you can. There's no competition here. Do the best you can. And move forward in your life. And expand and grow and learn and dive right in to the direct experience of being you. I mean, you can all, people want to dip out and it's like, well, you're just going to come back into another you, another version of everything, of the collective. When I came to that realization, I thought to myself, wow, I actually really like myself. Like, I don't want to leave this. And I can't imagine not being here. Even though you never know when you're actually going to not be here. If I died tomorrow, I would be okay with that. I would have to be okay with that. But that's why it's like, you choose now. And if you really, really, really are struggling and you just really don't want to be here at all, then drop everything that seems like a priority to you. Seriously, drop it. Because it doesn't matter. Would it matter tomorrow if you were dead? No. And do things that follow your relief. And then from the relief, you can start getting into those higher emotions, but you start with relief. And then eventually, you'll be able to stay here, and you'll be able to keep going on this journey. You're supposed to be here. This is where you're supposed to be. There's no better place for you than right here, right now, or else you would not be here. So, keep going. Don't give up. And don't resist the pain. Find ways to not resist the pain, and you will watch it dissipate, and you will alchemize those things into joy and into higher experiences. And here's a big part. You will never, ever, ever, ever get rid of contrast. We live in the plane of contrast and polarity. We all do, every single one of us. Yet we all have very different experiences of it. So don't think that if you have contrast in your life, you're doing something wrong. You're not. Different experiences come with different contrasts. That's it. And nobody has a better life than you. Do not compare yourself to anybody else, because you have absolutely no idea what it's like being them. Social media, there's so much social media. We look at their, people's pictures and posts, and oh my God, I mean, they just look like they're doing so well. It's like, you have no idea. You have no idea. Don't judge yourself or other people on this journey. Stay in this life because you are meant to be here. And do it consciously. And be ballsy. Take risks in the direction of your joy. Thank you.